afternoon with everyone. Welcome to the 10th workshop of the second day of the conference, Challenges, Opportunities, and Reflections on ELT. My name is Carlos Minga. I'm a student of fourth semester in the English teaching major in UNAE. I am responsible for hosting this presentation today, and I'm glad to welcome Janina Quito and Fernanda Torres. Janina Quito studied linguistics and anthropology at the University of Toronto. She studied her master's in linguistics applied to the teaching of English as a foreign language at University of Cuenca, where she currently works at the Department of Language. In addition, she is a PhD candidate in linguistics and languages at the National. Fernanda Torres has been an EFL teacher for 16 years. She obtained her diploma in education with focus on English language and literature in the University of Cuenca. Also, she earned her master's degree in English language and applied linguistics in the same university. She worked for some years in Abraham Lincoln Center. Currently, she works at Politecnica Salesiana University at the Department of Languages of the University of Cuenca. Today, they will present SAMR, the adaptation of technology in the EFL classroom. You can write your questions, comments, or doubts on the comment section, and at the end of the presentation, we will answer questions from the audience. Without further ado, here's our guests. We can start with the presentation.
Thank you very much. So we are here to present SAMR, the adaptation of technology in the EFL class. And so the objectives for this workshop is to identify different levels of SAMR, apply the different levels of SAMR for in-class activities, and to provide useful resources to be used at the different levels.
Okay, and these are the contents that we are going to cover during this workshop. Janina? Okay, Janina, can you help me please with
the content? Sorry.
the next slide.
So we have the definition of SAMR. We're going to talk about substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Then we're going to explain SAMR with examples for each skill set of the language.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I just want to thank you for being part of this workshop. Today we want to share with you a topic that we consider very useful and relevant for our lessons during this pandemic time, when everybody, especially us educators, have been forced in a certain way to integrate or incorporate technology in our teaching practice. Some people consider that integrating technology is a challenge, but it is stated in Edutopia, the biggest obstacle to teaching is probably, it's not probably technology, but integrating it productively in our classrooms. And it's here where the SAMR model becomes a tool that will help us to accomplish this task. The SAMR model is a framework that was developed in 2012 by Dr. Ruben Puentedura, who is the president and founder of the consulting firm Hypasos. And yes, he created this model in order to use, select, and evaluate technology in education. Here we have some quotes from other authors. The first one, Daniel Romrels, describes the model to be intended to encourage educators to significantly enhance the quality of education provided via technology. And Kathy Schrock states that SAMR is a model designed to help educators infuse technology into teaching and learning. So the purpose of this model is to integrate technology, not only to enhance the teaching practice, but also to transform the learning process. So this model intends to take the students from the lower to the upper levels, and also for the teachers to help them to integrate technology in a way to transform completely this process. This model is a powerful conceptual tool that categorizes 4 degrees of technology integration. The first 2 levels are substitution and augmentation, and the other 2 are modification and redefinition. These tiers have been classified in 2 different areas, which are enhancement and transformation. Okay, can you help me with the next slide, please? Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Janina, maybe can you help me with the next slide so I can continue?
This SAMR and Bloom's revised taxonomy. So these also go hand in hand with the different levels, right? So you have substitution, which goes with remember, and it goes into a little bit with understand. Augmentation, which overlaps with understand and apply. Modification, which goes with analyze and evaluate. And redefinition, which overlaps with evaluate and create.
Okay, now we will analyze each one of these steps, and we are going to start with the first one, which is substitution. Okay, in this step, technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional change. Yeah, there is no functional change in the use of technology. In other words, in this part, the technology only substitutes or replace traditional methods or traditional activities and materials that we use in class. For example, when we use a digital board, we are in this step of substitution, since we are not using the traditional one, but we are making use of the technology to present our classes. And also remember that there is no substantial change in the content. This is the most simple stage of all 4. Yeah? And this provides a perfect opportunity for students and teachers to get comfortable with technology before transforming the complete learning experience. As you can see in the slide, we have some examples of tools that can be used at this substitution level. The first one is Zoom. Yeah, it's holding class meetings or over video conferencing services like Zoom, Google Teams, or Skype. Other app or website that can be used is Google Docs. Here we can share our files. And as I mentioned before, the digital interactive whiteboards instead of using the traditional ones. And we have the when we have the online quizzes in the different platforms, yeah? Instead of giving the students pen and paper, now we use these online quizzes. Okay.
Perfect. Then we go up and we have augmentation. So this is technology acting as a direct substitute with functional improvement. So it might be easier to share things. It might be easier to start connecting with students, right? So here we have Google Drive, where I'm sure we've all used Google Drive at some point. We can organize our files, organize our class list, organize all the things that we have to share with our group, right? We also have Twitter. For example, if you have a Twitter account for your courses, you can tweet, don't forget class tomorrow, your homework has been posted. It's a lot easier for the teacher and for the students to see that and to interact with you. The last one we have is Flipboard. Now, this one is really interesting because it's sort of like a social network site, but for news, right? So you can also you can interact with people who have the same interests as you, right? And you can flip through all the news from around the world. This would be really useful in your class. Let's say if you connect as a class, and then you can send your students interesting news snippets from around the world, right? Something, perhaps you're talking about something in class and then it comes out in the news from Canada. You can send that to your students and then you guys can discuss that in class and they have it at the ease of their fingertips.
Okay, the next level is modification. Here, technology allows for significant task redesign. So in this stage, we begin to move from enhancing our lessons to transforming our lessons. Here we can see a significant change in our lessons, and we expect better learning outcomes. Yeah, here we can design more interactive activities and also dynamic ones. We can generate inspiration in the students to present innovative work. And some of the tools that can help us to achieve this point of modification in our lessons are tools like this one, Render Forest, where the students can create videos using avatars and using their voice to tell a story, for example, or to create dialogues. Other important or useful tool is Tour Creator. This is also very useful since you can use images from different parts of the world and create tours. Yeah, and also the learning management systems like Moodles, where we can post information, we can ask students to complete assignments, give them quizzes. So all these apps and web pages and tools are considered to be at the modification stage.
Then we have redefinition, where technology allows for the creation of new tasks. These are things that we would not be able to do if we didn't have technology. For example, your students upload a pre-recorded video to YouTube, and they can interact obviously, with the entire world, right? Through their video, through the comments section on YouTube and all that stuff. So it's much more interactive. Padlet, they can interact with each other and then they can send it out to a wider platform. With Storybird, they can also create different stories, right? And then they can put it up onto a bigger platform. So other students from other courses, from other countries, they can also take a look at their stories, what your students have created, read them, right? Use them, manipulate them in different ways. So this is all about interacting on a higher technological level. So now we would like to show you or give you some ideas of how we can elevate our tasks or how we can create tasks in the classroom for each skill. So first we have listening. For example, at the substitution level, your students might complete a listening comprehension quiz by digital platform. So they might you might play the audio and then they might fill out a Google form or they might fill out the quiz function in Moodle, one of those things, right? Augmentation. Students collaborate on a Google Doc to complete the transcript. So as they're listening, everyone is collaborating on one document, and at the end, hopefully you will have the full transcript of what the students were listening to. Modification can be something like drag and drop pictures of the steps in the listening, right? And then redefinition, they can create an animated video using something like Powtoon to illustrate the listening, right? So to illustrate what they've heard, the steps that these people have taken and all that stuff.
Okay, and also we can use this model applied in speaking. At the substitution level, students give an oral presentation about their favorite holiday using tools like Prezi or PowerPoint. As I said before, there is not a substantial change here. We are just replacing classic things for modern things using technology. Then in the augmentation level, students give an oral presentation about their favorite holiday and use Kahoot to check their classmates' understanding on the topic. Yeah, here we can see that we use the technology to add something more to the lesson, to the presentation. Then we move to modification, and students use the tool Render Forest to create their own video recording, recording their voice and using avatars to talk about their favorite holiday. And finally, we have students give a presentation about their favorite holiday to a broader community, using Facebook Live. Yeah. Okay.
And then we have some reading activities. So for example, a substitution would be students read a text in a document and answer comprehension questions, right? Just like before. Maybe it's on Google Forms, maybe it's on the Moodle quiz function that we have. One of those things where there's not a essential change. And augmentation is students use a text and they can highlight new words, they can manipulate things in online dictionary. So we're starting to integrate technology much more. And then modification, students can create a reading using an app like Storyboard, record themselves reading, right? And then in read edition, students can create a story and illustrate it using interactive websites, publish it on a course website or on a broader platform so students from other courses or other countries can see it, right? It might be if you as a teacher have a blog, there's another website that will show you a little bit further down the line that also allows for this integration of technology and this transfer of information between groups and countries.
And then we have an example for working with the writing skill. At the substitution level, students write a text using a word processor, replacing a pen and paper writing instead of a writing assignment. Then at augmentation, we have students use a digital writing assistance tool like Grammarly to improve the writing process. I think everybody knows this tool. When you make a mistake or it can be a spelling mistake or grammar mistake, you use this tool and it helps you to correct those mistakes and improve your writing. That is a good example of augmentation. Then we have a modification. Students post their work in a blog or forum where they can receive comments and feedback on their text. And finally, we have redefinition. Students participate in a virtual exchange where their work is read by students from different countries. Later, we will tell you about this website and about this idea, which I consider is amazing. Yeah. Okay, and here we have some examples that I have used with my students. At the substitution level, you can use, as I said before, whiteboards, yeah, these interactive whiteboards. As you can see in this example, I used a Jamboard, and all the sticky notes that you can see here are my students' comments. For example, I remember that I used this in a writing class and I was teaching them how to write a paragraph. So I wrote a question here, what is a paragraph and what are the three parts of it? And I asked them to share their ideas to answer this question so I can see where I should start with the class. And everybody was participating, as you can see here, as you can see in this part. And this is other way of using digital boards. I asked my students to make a posters. We were learning about hobbies and interests, and I grouped them and asked them to create a poster using an interactive whiteboard. So as you can see, these interactive boards help us to include images, text, and also drawings. Yeah, and this is the result of their poster. Yeah, of the work they did. This is the poster they presented. Let's continue with augmentation.
All right, so for augmentation, we have this website called Mentimeter. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Mentimeter before, but it's really interesting because if you on your computer just type in menti.com and type in this number 83569733, we have a question. All right, sorry for the little hiccup in connection, but we also have something like augmentation, right? And we have this, it's called Mentimeter. If you want, you can try it out. If you go to menti.com, or you can use the QR code here. And once you're in menti.com, you can have 8356 9733. So this question that we have prepared for this workshop is to ask you, what city are you from? So as you can see, you have an option to put in 3 things. You can just put in 1 and then send it off. And after, we will have a text analysis, and the city with the most votes will show up as the biggest word in our text analysis.
Okay, in the next level, we have modification, and here we can use websites like Render Forest and Pixton. Render Forest is a very useful tool if you want to create videos with avatars and add voice to each one of them. And we have this Pixton that can be used for writing tasks, for example. This is an example of one of my classes. I remember that we were talking and studying the topic of relationships, and I asked them to create a story using all the vocabulary that we learned in this unit. So as you can see, my students use these speech bubbles, different settings, different characters to create the story. So here we are demanding our students a lot of creativity. And yes, as you know, they love technology. These websites are not difficult to use. So there are tutorials also where they can check how to create the videos, how to create their comics.
And then we have redefinition. This is the website we sort of touched on previously. It's called ESL Video. So there's the link, and then you have this section here that says virtual exchange. So this is a meeting place for people, for teachers, for students, and then they can exchange and interact with each other's material. So let's say I put up some slides from my class, then Fernanda's class can come in and they can manipulate what I've put up, and my class can also see what Fernanda's class has done, and we can interact, they can comment, right? And then maybe we can discuss it in class. What do you think of this? And all that stuff. So this will bring our technology to a higher level because we are interacting with a larger community, and we're not just keeping it within our class, but we are branching out.
And as Janina said, this is very important. Okay, can you go back, please? This ESL video virtual exchange will be very useful if you want to practice writing, because you won't only practice with students from Ecuador, but you will have the chance, or your students will have the chance to interact with students from different parts of the world. And in this website, you can find all the information about how to carry on this project. Even you have a video with an example of how it works. And I think we have Janina again to check some of the topics we covered today in our workshop.
Yeah. I don't know. So here we have just some general conclusions. So for example, remember that SAMR is about the purposeful and useful, meaningful and useful technology integration, right? And it has 4 levels, and it is a process. right? So it is not a hierarchy, right? And then we have some resources for you as well. We have Mentimeter with the one that I spoke about, Google Docs that I'm sure we all have used, right? Voice threads, Google Slides, which you can also make some cool, really cool and interesting drag and drop things for, like, for vocabulary, for example, categorizing things. You can do that on Google Slides. MOOCnote, Junglish. This is really interesting. It's sort of like a dictionary where they can hear different kinds of pronunciation. Tricider as well, Lingro also. You can use that for different resources, and those will also help with your classes.
Thank you very much, both of you. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing presentation. Now we will answer some questions from the audience. The first question we have is, what specific ways do you employ to ensure that the students' metacognitive skills are developed without getting lost in the animated and visually stimulating aspects of ICT tools?
Okay, well, as I said before, this framework will help the teacher. This is only a guide for the teacher to integrate technology. So you can you have to choose the apps. You have to choose the tasks according to the goal that you want to accomplish in each class. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Our second question is, which one of these platforms is the most recommended for assessment?
For assessment, well, it also depends. It depends. Remember that we have formative assessment. So if you want to work with that, I think Socrative is a good one. And I don't know if you have used also the option of H5P in the Moodle platform. This icon or this tool in Moodle has a lot of activities that will help you with this kind of assessment, with formative assessment. But if you want to work with a summative assessment, I think, for example, Moodle is a good one, and also using Google Forms can be very useful. Mm-hmm.
Our third question is how the Padlet app can increase interest in students.
Okay, I think Janina can help us with that. She has used this tool before. Mm-hmm.
Wait.
All right, so that's a very good question. Padlet, I've used Padlet more for vocabulary because I have lower level students. So it brings them into it. It lets them choose the vocabulary that we're going to look at. For example, the unit we just did was about family. So I said, okay, for our next class, make sure you have a picture of your family. So everyone would put up a picture of their family, and then they'd write my brother, my father, my mother, my sister. So it makes it more personal, and it motivates the students, right? Because they're putting in their own lives. They're integrating English with their own lives. So sometimes you just see a picture of a general family, then they're like, okay, I can understand the vocabulary, but we have to bring it into their life. We have to bring their lives into English. So that's why Padlet is really useful for motivation with them.
Okay, on our last questions we have, do you think that those ICT tools can help a student to develop and improve their autonomous learning? for Janina.
Yes, yes, for sure. Because it's motivating, right? They're using something new. They're creating something. They're creating something different. It's not going to be the same as their peers. And by using new technology, right? They're excited because it's not something that they usually do. Let's say they're majoring in, I don't know, if they're majoring in chemistry, right? They're very technical, and then this will allow them that creative. I feel everyone, especially when you're using a language or when you're learning a language, you should be able to be creative with it. And that is either in the actual language, in forming sentences, forming paragraphs, explaining what you're doing, and also manipulating people to, I don't know, to get them to do stuff and everything. That also shows an understanding of what they're learning, of what students are learning.
Okay, so we now have no more questions. I don't know if you have anything else to say before we conclude this presentation. A little summary of what we saw here and what we worked about.
Okay, just to remind you that this summer it's a tool. It's a tool for us, the teacher, that helps us to identify where we are in these steps. If we are integrating technology only as at a substitution level or a modification level, well, we created a questionnaire with Janina that we are going to apply at the Department of Languages at the University of Cuenca to discover in which level our co-workers are applying or adapting technology in the EFL class. Because as you can see, this model is divided in two important areas: only enhancement and modification. So the ideal thing is to make use of these technological tools to create, to improve, to modify the way we teach and modify the way our students learn. Now with technology it's possible to communicate either orally or writing to a pen pal from a different country, and we are giving students a real context to use the language. So we consider that this model is very useful, and we hope you can start applying and analyzing how you are using technology in your classes, in your lessons. Mm-hmm.
Those are very helpful answers. Thank you again, Janina Quito and Fernanda Torres, for answering those questions and for the great workshop. It was a pleasure to have you with us. So with this, conclude this workshop. Thank you all for attending. We hope you learned and enjoyed this. With this, we conclude our second day on the challenge, opportunities, and reflection on ELT conference. Please check your schedule for the coming conference, and thank you.